So Simon, I think one of the challenges people have, and one perhaps they use PowerPoint as a crutch because of this, is getting inspiration for a speech, for a presentation. So they may know what they've got to get across, but how do you find inspiration so you come up with an idea or a hook or something which will capture an audience's attention?
This is going to be a bit of a rubbish answer because the answer is it's everywhere. Some of the best presentations I've created for my clients have come off the back of me peering over the shoulder of somebody on the tube as they're reading a newspaper, and there's an article there that you go, that's really good, I can use that, and then 3 weeks later it's popped up. Recently I attended a school assembly where both my kids were speaking, and there was a couple of things that came out from that assembly that I've since used in presentations. It's everywhere. What you've got to do is you've got to open your mind up to it. The easiest thing in the world when it comes to business presentations is to lock yourself into this straitjacket of PowerPoint slides, very business speak, lots of 3-letter acronyms. It's the worst thing you can do. Remember, your audience is made up of people. It's about communicating with those people, and those people want to be communicated to in ways that they're comfortable with as well. And that can be stories about your kids, it can be stories from the newspaper, it can be things that have just popped up on the way to that meeting. Share those personal ideas, makes a big difference.
So I agree, inspiration can be everywhere, and for someone like yourself who's a professional, who's building presentations and working with companies to help them with their presentations all the time, I can see how you can sort of draw on of those kind of things. I suppose it's a poet that gets inspired by, or a songwriter that gets inspired by all sorts of different things. But when you're perhaps not a creative in that way, you know, you're an electrical engineer and you're suddenly being asked to do a presentation. How would you perhaps go about even starting that journey? Do you have any advice for someone in that situation?
It does kind of go back again to stepping away from PowerPoint, which is a catch-all for all sorts of different presentation technologies out there, and actually starting on paper. Yeah, and it's the fundamental stuff again. Go back to who is in your audience, what do they want to get out of it, what's the message you want to share, and then start doodling, start drawing, start mind mapping as much as you can. There are some simple story structures that you can follow, and they are really, it could be as simple as tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. It's as old as the hills, but it works. So don't get yourself tied up in knots. There's no reason to freak out just because you're preparing a presentation. If you take a step back, think about the most important stakeholder in the whole process, which, as we've said, is the audience, and then build off the back of that. Makes a big, big difference. And
I suppose the audience, in a way, is a great way of getting inspiration, because if you can take a step back and think, who are they and what would they like? And even it's saying, well, I've got a predominantly male audience for a certain age, maybe there's football analogy, or I've got, a different audience that might like this kind of thing. Maybe is that a useful way of starting to have a starting point?
It's a really good place to start. And one of the things that I talk about a lot in the book is don't follow stereotypes. So there's a quick story in the book that talks about, we were working with a client that was pitching to a procurement audience, and it was quite a long way into the procurement process, and we almost fell into the trap of just repeating the same facts and pricing and SLAs and all of those sort of things. We recognised that at this part of the process, it was about trust. And so we told stories and developed a presentation around the importance of trust in a contractual relationship of the size that we were talking. And it really engaged with that audience. So just because they had procurement manager on the business card doesn't mean that you have to talk about procurement the whole time. They got over that bit. This was now about, are we a good person or a good business to be working with? So go a little deeper, and that inspiration then will fire up.